HSBC, the banking giant, has escaped indictment for laundering billions of dollars for Mexican drug cartels and groups linked to al-Qaeda. The bank reportedly supplied $1 billion to a firm whose founder had ties to al-Qaeda and shipped billions in cash from Mexico to the United States, despite warnings the money was coming from drug cartels. Earlier this year, in a Senate investigation, concluded that HSBC provided a, quote, gateway for terrorists to gain access to U.S. dollars and the U.S. financial system. Despite evidence of wrongdoing, the Justice Department has allowed the bank to avoid prosecution and pay a $1.9 billion fine. No top HSBC officials will face charges. While it's reportedly the largest penalty ever paid by a bank, the deal has come under wide criticism. Officials reportedly agreed to seek the fine over concerns that criminal charges would have hurt the global financial system. Loretta Lynch is U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York.
We are here today to announce the filing of criminal charges against HSBC Bank, both its U.S. entity, HSBC U.S., and the parent HSBC Group, for its sustained and systemic failure to guard against the corruption of our financial system by drug traffickers and other criminals, and for evading U.S. sanctions law. HSBC, as you know, is one of the largest financial institutions in the world, with affiliates and personnel spanning the globe. Yet during the relevant time periods, they failed to comply with the legal requirements incumbent on all U.S. financial institutions to have in place compliance mechanisms and safeguards to guard against being used for money laundering. HSBC has admitted its guilt to the 4-count information filed today, which sets forth 2 violations of the Bank Secrecy Act, a violation of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEPA, and a violation of the Trading with the Enemy Act. As part of its resolution of these charges, HSBC has agreed to forfeit $1.256 billion, the largest forfeiture amount ever by a financial institution for a compliance failure.
That was U.S. Attorney Loretta Lynch. Meanwhile, HSBC Group Chief Executive Stuart Gulliver said in a statement, quote, "We accept responsibility for our past mistakes. We've said we're profoundly sorry for them." He added the bank had, quote, "taken extensive and concerted steps to put in place the highest standards for the future." News of HSBC's fine comes as 3 low-level traders were arrested in London as part of an international investigation into 16 international banks accused of rigging a key global interest rate used in contracts worth trillions of dollars. The London Interbank Offered Rate, known as LIBOR, is the average interest rate at which banks can borrow from each other. Some analysts say it defines the cost of money. The benchmark rate sets the borrowing costs of everything from mortgages to student loans to credit card accounts. Well, for more on the latest bank scandals, we're joined by Matt Taibbi, contributing editor for Rolling Stone magazine. His latest book is Griftopia, a story of bankers, politicians, and the most audacious power grab in American history. Now, how did Forbes put it, Matt? What's a bank got to do to get into some real trouble around here?
Exactly, and what's amazing about that is that's Forbes saying that. I mean, universally, the reaction, even among the financial press, which is normally very bank-friendly and gives all these guys the benefit of the doubt, the reaction is what do you have to do to get a criminal indictment? What HSBC has now admitted to is more or less the worst behavior that a bank could possibly be guilty of. They violated the Trading with the Enemy Act, the Bank Secrecy Act, and we're talking about massive amounts of money. It was $9 billion that they failed to supervise properly. These crimes were so obvious that apparently the cartels in Mexico specifically designed boxes to put cash in so that they would fit through the windows of HSBC teller windows. So it was so out in the open, these crimes, and there's going to be no criminal prosecution whatsoever, which is incredible.
And emails found where bank officials were instructing officials in Iran and in some other countries how best to hide their efforts to move money into their system?
Exactly, yeah, and that's true at HSBC, and apparently we have a very similar scandal involving another British bank, Standard Chartered, which also paid an enormous fine recently for laundering money through Iran. This, again, comes in the heels of the LIBOR scandal, which has already caught up two major British banks, the Royal Bank of Scotland and Barclays. So you have essentially all of the major British banks now are inveigled in these enormous scandals. We have a couple of arrests today involving low-level people in the LIBOR thing, but it doesn't look like any major players are going to be indicted criminally for any of this.
And this whole argument that the bank is too big to indict because of the threat to the world financial system. Most people don't know that HSBC stands for Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation. It's a British bank that goes back to the early days of British colonialism in Asia. Is it too big to be indicted?
The amazing thing about that rationale is that it's exactly the opposite of the truth. What the message that this sends to everybody when banks commit crimes and nobody is punished for it is that you can do it again. If there's no criminal penalty for committing even the most obvious kinds of crimes, that tells everybody, investors all over the world, that the banking system is inherently unsafe. And so the message is this is not a move to preserve the banking system at all. In fact, it's incredibly destructive. It undermines the entire world confidence in the banking system. It's an incredible decision that, again, is met with surprise even by people in the financial community.
On Tuesday, Thomas Curry, head of the Office of the Controller of the Currency, the lead regulator for HSBC in the U.S., defended the settlement.
These actions send a strong message to the bank and the financial services industry to make compliance with the law a priority to safeguard their institutions from being misused in ways that threaten American lives.
That's Thomas Curry, head of the Office of the Controller of the Currency. It seems like a lot of people who are in prison right now, low-level thieves, criminals, drug launderers, people who've been accused of working with al-Qaeda, perhaps could appeal their convictions now and get out of jail.
Right, yeah, exactly. I was in court yesterday in criminal court in Brooklyn. I saw somebody who come into court who had just spent an overnight in jail for walking from one subway car to another in front of a policeman. You can do real time in jail in America for all kinds of ridiculous offenses, for taking up 2 subway seats in New York City if you fall asleep in the subway. People go to jail for that all the time in this country. For having a marijuana stem in your pocket. There are 50,000 marijuana possession cases in New York City alone every year. And here we have a bank that laundered $800 million of drug money, and they can't find a way to put anybody in jail for that. That sends an incredible message, not just to the financial sector, but to everybody. It's an obvious, clear double standard where one set of people gets to break the rules as much as they want, and another set of people can't break any rules at all without going to jail. And I just don't see how they don't see this problem.
Well, Matt, Assistant Attorney General Lanny Brewer outlined some of HSBC's alleged drug cartel ties.
From 2006 to 2010, the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico, the Norte del Valle cartel in Colombia, and other drug traffickers laundered at least $881 million in illegal narcotics trafficking proceeds to HSBC Bank USA. These traffickers didn't have to try very hard. They would sometimes deposit hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in a single day into a single account, using boxes, as Loretta said, designed to fit the precise dimensions of the teller's windows in HSBC's Mexico branches.
Matt, this is like Monopoly, the board game all over again. Get out of jail free. Instead of $50, you're paying $1.9 billion, but you're still getting out of jail free.
And this fits in with the pattern of the entire financial crisis. $1.9 billion sounds like a lot of money, and it definitely is. It's a record settlement. No bank has ever paid this much money before. But it's about two months' worth of profits for HSBC. It's not going to cripple this bank. It's not even going to hurt them that badly for this year. It fits in line with the Goldman Sachs settlement and the Abacus case, which was hailed at the time as a record settlement. It was $575 million, but that was about 1/20th of what they got just through the AIG bailout. So this is not a lot of money for these people. It sounds like a lot of money to the layperson, but for the crimes they committed, getting away with just money, and it's not even their own money. It's not their personal money. It's the shareholders' money. It's incredible. It literally is a get out of jail free card.
And of course, the way that big banks these days can borrow money from the U.S. Fed for no interest, for free. Basically, they can just take money from the government and pay the government back.
What does the Justice Department, what does the Obama administration gain by not actually holding HSBC accountable?
I think I've asked myself that question numerous times. I really believe, and I think a lot of people believe this, that the Obama administration sincerely accepts the rationale that to aggressively prosecute crimes committed by this small group of too-big-to-fail banks would undermine confidence in the global financial system, and that they therefore have to give them a pass on all sorts of things because we are teetering on the edge of a problem. And if any one of them were to fall out, it would cause a domino effect of losses and catastrophes like the Lehman Brothers business. And I think they're genuinely afraid of that. And so that's the only legitimate explanation that you can possibly assign to this situation, because, as we know, Wall Street abandoned the Obama administration this year when it came to funding in the election. They heavily supported Mitt Romney and didn't give Obama much money at all.
We have to break. When we come back, we're going to ask you more about LIBOR and also your piece, Jim DeMint, who's stepping down in the Senate, the fireman Ed of politics, you write. We're talking to Matt Taibbi, contributing editor for Rolling Stone magazine. Thanks so much for watching this report from Democracy Now!, your daily independent global news hour. We don't accept advertising or corporate funding, but rather rely on donations from viewers like you. Please make your contribution by visiting democracynow.org. We need your support today to keep bringing you this hard-hitting, in-depth reporting.